Please be seated. Good evening. I'm here to welcome you to Wadsworth High School's Baccalaureate service. My name is Brianna Perkins, and I'm the current Student Council President. I am honored to have the opportunity to welcome you tonight. I'd like to start by thanking the Wadsworth United Methodist Church for organizing this ceremony and giving our class the opportunity to come together and celebrate. As we round the corner to our last ventures as a class, I want to take a moment to reflect on all of our memories together. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the terms connotation and denotation. For those of you who aren't, connotation is the feeling a word promotes, and denotation is a definition. For example, the denotation of the word high school is a school that typically comprises of grades 9 through 12 attended after primary and middle school. The connotation of high school is a bit more complicated since it's subjective and obviously it's different for everyone. For high school, it could be some people's safe space where they can get away from the stresses of life, spend time with their friends, and learn new things. It could also be a place where people feel that they need to strive to be better or push themselves into shoes too large to fill. While I hope that high school has had a positive connotation for everyone, I'm a realist and I understand that not everyone wants to be a teenager forever and not everyone loves the school's french fries as much as I do. I know we are the class of 2024, but the number 2 also has a large significance in our lives. You may want to check my math, but as an 18-year-old, these 4 years of high school we've spent together makes up 22% of our entire lifetime. As we grow up, these years of our lives get smaller and smaller. In 15 years, that percentage is going to be cut in half. And all the little moments that we remember now will fade, and all that will be left are the connotations, the feelings. You see, connotations are all about your perspective. Was the glass of high school half empty or half full? This perspective is going to shape your life not only in our days here, but as we move forward. By the time we start to make bigger, more grown-up decisions, it's going to be hard to remember who said who to who in the cafeteria, who got to run what race, and who saw what on Instagram. But whether you know it or not, it is these moments that are going to shape who you are as a person, as a friend, and maybe even one day as a parent. The connotations we associate with actions, people, and places are what have led us to our next path, whether that's more school, work, or you're still figuring it out. This is our first big crossroad, the one that may separate us from our mentors, peers, and the people we lean on. It's time to start making our own decisions. As we progress further into our lives, I encourage all of you to reflect on the moments you've had here, this place, in this town, and decide which perspective you want to take. I want you to take these moments and use them to better yourself and the world around you. Be proactive and strive for that glass that is half full. Decide how you want to be regarded in the eyes of those you meet in the future and those you know in the present. When someone says your name, what connotations do you want them to have of you? The class of 2024 will forever go down in history as not only one of the best classes at WHS, but one of great talents. We have artists, athletes, and scholars among us. Many believe that Gen Z will be the lost generation, lacking determined and spirited workers. But as I'm looking around at our class, I know we will all do great things. Every day of high school may not have been pretty, but every day I've seen people put in the work to accomplish the things that they love. And that's all the world needs. Thank you for being a part of my experience at Wadsworth High School. I hope to have a positive connotation in your story thus far, as you all have had in mine. Thank you. At this time, the Wadsworth Choir will be singing How Do We Say Goodbye, directed by Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Mrs. Heyer and the senior ensemble for performing our special music, The Great Locomotive Chase. Hello, everyone. My name is Noah Tefteller, and tonight I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, David Tefteller. Dr. David Tefteller, my dad, was born and raised in the Phoenix, Arizona area and is the oldest of 4 brothers. He enjoyed football, basketball, and baseball, as well as the student council, choir, and other activities in high school. He also played football briefly after high school. He served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and has served in various callings within that church since then. He earned his bachelor's degree from Arizona State University and his master's degree and PhD from the University of Akron, where he has served as a faculty member for the past 10 years in the School of Counseling within the graduate school. He also owns and operates a part-time mental health practice here in Wadsworth and mentors marriage and family therapists throughout the state working toward independent licenses. Most importantly to him, he is a husband to my beautiful mother, Rachel, and father to me and my 3 siblings. Please welcome David Tefteller.
Thank you, Noah. I appreciate those kind words, and I love and appreciate you. We'll miss you when you're gone. I'm kind of known for sometimes in these situations sort of like winging things and just kind of speaking off the cuff, and I didn't want to do that and take too much time. In fact, I'm going to turn on this stopwatch on my watch to make sure this doesn't take too long, and I'm just going to read my thoughts, so bear with me. So thank you again, Noah, for that introduction. Thank you to Tim Beck and the administration for allowing me to say a few things to the graduating class here. And thank you to my lovely wife, Rachel, that Noah already mentioned, for suggesting to the administration that I give this speech. She knows how much I adore public speaking, so thank you again, Rachel. I appreciate it. All joking aside, though, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak to you, graduating class of 2024. I also want to thank all of you in advance for listening to a few of my thoughts for just a few minutes and bearing with me. I know many of you are going on fumes, and you probably had a good time last night that probably didn't end until sometime today or this morning for many of you, so I appreciate you being here. I pray that perhaps one small thing I might share can make you think just a little bit more about your future and be helpful in some kind of way at some point in your near or distant future. So Wadsworth class of 2024, you're finally here. Congratulations. Maybe you've been to some of these before, you've watched some of your peers or siblings or others go through these events at the end of their high school career, and you thought, I wonder when I'll get there. Well, you're finally here. You should be proud of what you've accomplished to this point. As you get ready for commencement next weekend, remember what the word commencement means in the first place. It's a beginning or start. So inasmuch as it is a ceremony to celebrate and honor the ending or finishing of your primary and secondary education, and all the experiences that go along with it, its core purpose is to commemorate the beginning of the rest of your life and what's next. Undoubtedly, many of you have already begun in earnest the game plan for what the next thing is, while some of you are still relatively uncertain. Both are okay, and both require a good amount of flexibility going forward. Ever since I was asked to give this address at this ceremony a few weeks ago, I've given a lot of thought to what I might say and what I could say that might be useful to you. I thought to myself, what could be useful but not too cliche? What might be inspiring but not too cheesy and naive? What might be grounded in reality and sound advice but not too negative? What might be spiritually minded and uplifting, since this is a baccalaureate, but not too preachy? I compiled working lists of general themes and ideas in my phone, my mind, and initial Word document drafts. I finally decided that I would simply give you a list of ideas or suggestions that I think are most helpful for young adults your age, and are things I would say and have said many times probably in the past to my own children. For me personally, I find that I'm a little more likely to listen to a talk or sermon when there's a numerical list of things or ideas, and it just feels a little more palatable in that form as well. So that's what I'll give you graduates today. I've also decided to try and strike a balance between my natural propensity for directness and couple it with a degree of diplomacy so that what I say doesn't come off too much, again, like a lecture or a sermon or the archaic ramblings of a middle-aged father. Since it's a baccalaureate, I will not shy away too much from the connections between my thoughts and directives from God, but I also want to appeal to as many of you as possible, not have some close their minds and hearts because I'm mentioning deity. That being said, I personally believe that much of what I will say either is or derives from eternal truths that are beneficial to all of God's children, whether or not they have a direct personal relationship with Him, or even if they believe in Him at all. I believe that eternal truth is eternal truth. I also realize that many of you have already been blessed with the opportunities and insight to understand and practice many of these principles in your life already, thanks to wise and loving parents, caregivers, extended family, teachers, ecclesiastical leaders, friends, and other mentors. I'm not inventing the wheel here, just passing along some thoughts that I prayerfully considered and thoughts that might be helpful. So with all that in mind, here are the 8 of the most important thoughts and considerations I think I could pass along to a young person in your shoes who's at this juncture in their life where you currently find yourself. Number 1, view yourself as an agent who acts and not as something that is acted upon. I feel like the beginning of Dickens' classic novel, A Tale of Two Cities, certainly applies to the world and times you find yourself launching into. He said it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. The world is in fact an amazing, wonderful, and beautiful place. It's also cold, cynical, and very ugly at times. The beautiful part of it, however, is that you largely get to choose what kind of experience it will be for you. Yes, there are sometimes roadblocks in the way that make a preferred path more difficult to continue on, but for the most part, you get to choose how things go, and you always get to choose how you respond to the circumstances. Choose personal accountability and to not be a victim of what happens to you. Number 2, and this connects to number 1, learn to understand that with relatively few exceptions, the world does not owe you much of anything. I trust that most, if not all of you, have had largely positive experiences and positive upbringing by your parents or caregivers. It is true and it takes a village and good parents ideally to raise a child, and there is much to filial or family loyalty in what we do for each other. But the sooner we realize that most everything needs to be earned and isn't given, the better off we'll be. So be grateful for what others do for you, be willing to do for others as well, but don't expect that others will always do things for you or give you things. An entitled mentality will almost always lead to disappointment and will rob the possessor of it from opportunities for gratitude and growth. Number 3, and this connects to number 2, learn the value and necessity of hard work. I know sometimes work is a 4-letter word for many of us, despite our age. But in addition to the obvious economic need for work, there is also so much more that derives positively from hard, honest work. An ecclesiastic leader named Neal A. Maxwell once said, quote, "Work is always a spiritual necessity, even if for some work is not an economic necessity." There is a preponderance of research speaking to the mental health and value of work. Work gives you confidence and a sense of accomplishment no matter what the task is. Being able to be as self-reliant as reasonably possible gives you a sense of satisfaction and self-confidence. Even small tasks can help to positively alter your mood. Do you want to start the day off feeling good about yourself? Do something as simple and short as making your bed and tidying your space just a little bit, and it will positively affect your outlook. Work and the sincere love of work is one of the great secrets of happiness in this life, I'm convinced. Excuse me. Number 4, and this connects to number 3. Speaking of happiness, that's a very ethereal, hard thing for some of us to grasp and feel quite often. Learn early in your life that it is something that will not always be present, and there will be hard times and rough days. That's just a given as part of our mortality. Also understand that while our circumstances can certainly affect our happiness, or more accurately our ability to choose happiness, that by and large it is a choice nonetheless. Again, this is not meant to disregard the role of circumstances, others' choices, or physiological predispositions to depression, anxiety, and a host of other physical and psychological ailments. Those certainly can affect us. But when you start to realize that happiness is more of a function of your choice on perspective and outlook, and that you can take actionable items to positively affect your mood and happiness, then you'll begin to be an agent of change and choice that I mentioned in number 1. I close this point with a great quote from another ecclesiastical leader named Jenkins Lloyd Jones, who once said, quote, I love this quote, "Anyone who imagines that bliss is normal is going to waste a lot of time running around shouting that he's been robbed. The fact is that most putts don't drop, most beef is tough, most children grow up to just be people, most successful marriages require a high degree of mutual toleration, most jobs are more often dull than otherwise. Life is like an old-time rail journey, delays, sidetracks, smoke, dust, cinders, and jolts, interspersed only occasionally by beautiful vistas and thrilling bursts of speed. The trick is to thank the Lord for letting you have the ride in the first place," end quote. I've also learned through personal experience in my working with others in spiritual studying that happiness is more consistently achievable when we find a balance between serving others and attending to our own needs. As with many other things that can get out of balance, focusing excessively on ourselves and our own problems or on those of others can lead to feelings of distress. But I would submit that many who are consistently unhappy could probably stand to seek out others in need more often and look for ways to assist the downtrodden, and their life would be more fulfilling and they would feel more content. This is an ages-old axiom of truth in religious and spiritual circles that now has modern mental health research behind it as well. I'm at 8 minutes, so I'm not doing too bad. Number 5, also connected to number 3, Learn to find balance in your life in general. Inasmuch as I spoke on the importance of appreciating and engaging in hard work, there is a need to find balance in your life as well so you can enjoy it. Moderation in nearly all things is usually a good idea. If you spend too much time working and don't learn to relax and engage in occasional self-care, you will burn out. On the other side, if you spend too much time in leisure and seeking to be entertained all the time, those pleasures will eventually lose their effect, and you will miss out on the satisfaction and blessings of hard work already mentioned previously. Seek to find balance between meaningful hard work and tasks, as well as times of respite and relaxation. Soon you'll be going to college, other vocational training, full-time work, or other endeavors, and I suspect that many or most of you will have a significant increase in the amount of autonomy and time away from your parents and family. How you choose to use your time will largely determine your short-term and long-term success and happiness. There's nothing inherently wrong with your phone, video games, sleep, and other means of relaxing or unwinding, but choose to use them in moderation and do not let them become the master of your time and of you. As a general rule, people find the time to do the things they actually want to do. That last sentence sounds simple and obvious enough, but think about that next time you or someone says that they are too busy or don't have time for something. Not too many generations back, our ancestors didn't have much, quote, free time, and bored was something that they washed their clothes on. They were constantly busy with the daily task of survival and having their necessities provided for. With all the modern advances we can take advantage of today, it has provided for a relative abundance of free time. Neuroscience research has taught us that the same area of the brain processes both pleasure and pain. When we increase dopamine levels by means of substances or otherwise benign behaviors even, if not used in moderation repeatedly, they eventually lose their potency, and things that originally brought pleasure lead to pain. Finding a balance between the two is essential to balance and health, so choose to seek balance in your life. Number 6, connected to number 5, protect the private moments in your life. What do I mean by that? Again, it goes back to the idea of using your time well. It's to choose to engage in activities and routines that will benefit you and others. Again, we all need some downtime, we all need relaxation, but especially once you're off on your own, how you respond to the sudden amount of free time or alone time without parents and others around to tell you what to do all the time. This will largely determine how your alone time is spent, and you will create habits, good or bad, that will lead to greater growth, happiness, confidence, and mental and spiritual growth, or it will lead to wasted time, unhappiness, not being productive, and mental and spiritual stagnation or digression. It can be said that integrity is what you do when no one else is looking or around. So how will you use those quote-unquote private moments? Protect them and use them well. As a side note to this point, I would strongly encourage you to take a hard look at the amount of screen time you have each day. I know you've heard these kinds of things a million times before. You're probably tired of hearing about your phone. But there truly is a connection in general between screen time and well-being. I dare you to try a few days or even a week-long fast from social media and everything on your phone except for necessary phone calls and brief texts, and see how it feels. You might be surprised. As a side note, this isn't on my written stuff. When I teach at the university, we have icebreakers at the beginning of each class. Usually my simple icebreaker go-to, because it's fairly unique these days, is I'll tell my students I've never been on social media my entire life. I've never had an account in any of those things. I'm certainly not a prophet, but something just told me at the beginning of all this when it came out that it just wasn't for me. And they usually roll their eyes and they laugh and they kind of poke fun at how Dr. T is like an 86-year-old in a 46-year-old's body. But usually by the time they graduate, if not sooner, I have 1 or 2 converts who are like, you know what, I've given up either all or a good portion of my social media time, and it actually has made me feel a little bit better about life. So seek balance. Where am I at? Number 7. We're at 11 and a half minutes. I only have 2 more points, I promise. Seek to find congruence between how you think, feel, and behave. Many of you are coming from wonderful homes that are loving and supportive, and perhaps raise you to ideally be strong in your spiritual faith as well. As I said earlier, many of you are now leaving the nest to go and learn and do things more independently on your own. This includes your level of spirituality and general outlook and perspective on the world. I mentioned the importance of protecting the private moments earlier. You will soon have much more of them than you likely had up to this point in your life. Whatever your spiritual religious beliefs and thoughts are, choose to eventually make them your own. And think about that for a minute. Make them your own, not just because it's your parents and how much you honor and love them, but make your beliefs, whatever they are, your own. Choose to figure out if your personal beliefs and faith are exactly as you were raised, or if they are slightly modified in some way, or whatever they may be. But be genuine about it, come to understand your own values and morals, and then choose to live a life where you hold to them. There's a significant trend taking place in the USA today where more and more young adults are leaving the churches and faith of their upbringing and just leaving faith-based life altogether. I suppose that this happens occasionally because a young person has come to the logical conclusion that their personal beliefs differ from what they grew up with. But I also can't help believe that many of them do so in large measure as a psychological overreaction to the sudden newfound autonomy they experience when they first leave home, like I mentioned earlier. and they somehow come to the conclusion that faith is no longer congruent with the new ideas they've learned at places of higher learning. Remember, young folks, that there's a big difference between learning and wisdom. Some of the smartest, most educated persons on earth are not very wise. A value-based existence, whatever that means and looks like to you, is a key to happiness and satisfaction. To borrow some from Carl Rogers, people are generally happy and contented to the degree that there is congruence or consistency between their thoughts or beliefs and their behaviors. Choose to be a genuine person and figure out what you believe, then hold to it, all the while also striving for constant improvement. The final point I'll make, and I'll leave you with this. Don't be afraid to take calculated and reasonable risks in your life. Yes, think things through and make plans and stick to them, but don't be afraid of a little bit of spontaneity once in a while. Try things that are hard or difficult. It's good for you. If you have a general plan in terms of your education, vocation, relationships, etc., move forward with faith that things will work out. If you stick to your principles mentioned above, work hard, and are honest in your dealings with others. Speaking of relationships, let me say this really quickly as well. The world needs more young people to be of faith to raise up future generations of faith and lead our society. Please don't take what I'm saying the wrong way, but when it comes to future significant other relationships, find a balance between logic and planning with faith and moving forward. In my humble opinion, I observe young people sometimes being too measured about the next steps in their lives regarding marriage or significant other relationships and possible children. I'm certainly not encouraging any of you to rush into things and be irresponsible with your finances, your heart, or your future offspring. But if everything has to be in perfect order and set up just so before you make all those important decisions, then I would ask, where is the faith involved and where are the hard things experienced together to create the mental, relational, spiritual, and emotional muscles necessary to make it through difficult times? I would submit that planning and responsibility, coupled with faith and hard work, can go a long way. Somewhat often I will have students in my graduate school classes picking my brain on these very topics in smaller and more private settings, especially since we deal with people and relationships quite a bit. I can tell that they're at least asking in part because of their own personal experiences and planning, not just for the sake of their future patients. You can have a successful future relationship or marriage and parenting experiences even if you don't wait until everyone has their PhDs, perfect jobs, perfect home and nursery setup, and everything is just so before saying I do or let's have a family. The reasonable amount of challenges and struggles faced together when trying to get through common life cycle stages like your education, career, etc., are what binds and galvanizes you and helps inoculate you to many of life's difficulties. They are the types of things you talk about together when you're in the twilight of your years while sitting on the porch swing together someday, sipping lemonade and talking about the good old days. If there wasn't any reasonable amount of struggle together, any early morning and late nights, changing diapers, getting your education finished, building careers together, having to budget and be smart with finances, sacrificing and toiling together, then what good old days are you really going to be talking about in the first place? Where's the glue? I won't belabor the point, but I'm willing to bet there are many of your parents' and grandparents' generation in the audience today who I believe can attest to these truths and have been there. It's just some food for thought as you get older, move forward. In closing, my young friends, this is a wonderful time and place in history, with a multitude of resources and opportunities that await you taking full advantage of them. It is also a time and place fraught with potential downfalls and means of diverting you from your goals and reaching your full potential. The good news, once again, is that you get to choose for the most part what kind of future it will be. Know that your family, friends, God, and this Wadsworth community love you and hope and pray for your success and happiness. We're excited to see what you'll become and see the positive influence you'll have in the world. Congratulations again on your impending graduation. Best of luck in all that you do, and never forget that where you come from and the people who will help you along the way. Thank you again for a few moments of your time, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tefteller, for sharing that inspiring message. I now invite all of the senior class of 2024 to take part in the flower dedication ceremony. These flowers symbolize our respect, appreciation, and love for the people who have taught us patiently and influenced us in a positive manner. Fellow classmates, you will be dismissed row by row, starting in the front, to obtain carnations to give to those special people who have encouraged you throughout your high school career and led you to these moments on this occasion. Please return to your seat when you have finished. Thank you. Okay, the first row can go. I didn't All right, the back row can get the flowers in the back, 2 corners. And the second row. And the back row. And the last row. There's more flowers left over if you guys want to get up again and take more.
It's an honor to be here tonight, as I was a teacher and coach here for 33 years, my entire career. And the other reason it's an honor to be here is Will Stack is my grandson. My wish for you as a graduating class is that you may find a passion in your life as I did in mine. My years here at Wadsworth High, it wasn't work. It was a passion that I loved, and every day that I got up, I knew it was another day in which to excel, and another day to enjoy my colleagues and my students. I was blessed to be a Wadsworth Grizzly. Let us pray. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Congratulations to the class of 2024. It's now time for you to go out and make a difference in this world of ours. But always remember, there's nothing better than being a Grizzly. You can go ahead and meet with your loved ones. Thank you.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.